Happy New Year and welcome back to Books with Kimberly. Today we are going over the books that I read in the last quarter of 2023. That's right, I have to go over books that I read in October, November, and December, so stay tuned. Hey y'all, and again, welcome back to Books with Kimberly. Don't forget to like, comment, share my channel, and subscribe. I am so happy to be back and I'm ready to discuss all the books I read in the last quarter of the year. Yes, y'all, I gotta run through all the books that I read in October, November, and December. So let's get right into it. In the month of October, I read a total of 5 books. 3 of those books I had standalone spooky reviews for. I wanted to read scary, spooky, mysterious books by Black authors that featured Black characters. The first book was Delicious Monsters by Liselle Sambury. This book gave me all the haunted house goodness that I enjoy. In my review, I spoke a little bit about how it dragged a little bit and I didn't really know where the story was going. But towards the last quarter of the book, it really took off and wrapped up very beautifully. I gave this book 5 stars, and if you want to know all about this book, go check out that standalone review. Second book I read in the month of October was Their Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington. This book really went there, y'all. It was just, whew. It was all about these girls competing to the death for this huge prize of a lifetime. I gave all of my critiques in the standalone review for Their Vicious Games, so go check that out. I gave this book 4 stars. The third book I read in the month of October was I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me by Jamison Shea. This book gave Black ballerina who is ready to sell her soul in order to be the best ballerina this Paris Academy has ever seen. I gave this book 4 stars, and to hear about all of my thoughts and critiques on this book, go check out that standalone spooky review. So the last 2 books are also spooky books that I read in the month of October, but I did not do standalone reviews for these. The 4th book was The Black Queen by Jumata Emill. This was my first time reading a book by this author. He really drew me into this book by having the setting be in Mississippi, and so there were a lot of Louisiana, Mississippi references, and as a Louisiana girl with Mississippi family roots, I was here for all of it. He even referenced Delta Sigma Theta, so I was over here grinning like, that's right, honey. I mean, it was just a small mention, but I just love that it was thrown in there. That's one of the biggest reasons that I read books by Black authors, is because I love those cultural references that I can actually relate to. This book was a mystery and it wasn't giving those spooky vibes that I actually wanted, but I still think it was overall a good book. The Black Queen is about Nova. Nova will be the first Black homecoming queen at this school in Mississippi. Her biggest competition is Tinsley, and Tinsley's mother, grandmother, and older sister were all homecoming queens at this school. She feels like her life depends on her furthering this legacy by also becoming homecoming queen. But baby, everybody is voting for Nova, and Nova, even though they corner her and try to bribe her into giving up, Nova goes through with it, becoming the first Black homecoming queen. But unfortunately, the same night of the homecoming game where she is crowned this first Black queen, she also is murdered. So this book is told in the perspective of Duchess, who is her best friend, and Tinsley, who is numero uno suspect for the murder of Nova. I thought this book was really interesting. I did enjoy it. I only have 2 critiques when it comes to this book. The first one is I didn't really like how Nova felt like her character's purpose was only to set this story in motion. She's referenced as the dead girl a couple of times, and I just thought her character deserved more than that. So I just wanted more Nova, and I wanted more sympathy and empathy for Nova as well. I just feel like this whole whodunit case really took over, and I wanted that mourning of a beautiful black girl. Like, I wanted to feel that in this book. My second critique is, baby, I be complaining about how I don't be getting enough breadcrumbs to really get me through these stories and what's going on. But honey, it was a parade. It was a Mardi Gras parade of breadcrumbs in this book. I feel like the book was really leading you to all the suspects. It was really leading you to like think it could be this person and that person. And they did a good job of explaining, oh, it could be this person, but this is why it's not that person. It was so much foreshadowing. When you do find out what happened to Nova, it wasn't really shocking. But overall, I thought this book was good, and I can't wait to read more from this author. I give The Black Queen 4 stars. So the last book that I read in the month of October, which I completely forgot to include in my recording, was White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. Honestly, Tiffany is one of my faves, but this was not one of my favorite books by her. It was spooky, but it was annoying the way the flow of the story was going. I give this book 3 stars, and yeah, that's all I have to say. In the month of November, I read a total of 4 books. The first book is Topaz by Beverly Jenkins. This book was a recommendation by Zatara. I was looking for a romance read, and this book was definitely a pretty good romantic read. I will say it was not my favorite by Beverly Jenkins, and only because it was very heavy with the historical references. And I am not a historical fiction girl. I am all about getting those little small doses of history thrown into these books. But I felt like this was the first book where I was like, okay, this is a lot of history. I know this sounds bad, y'all. I should be really interested and just perked up and ready to listen to all of this history. But I'm like, let's get to the romance, honey. The steaminess, them looking into each other's eyes and professing their love. That is what I wanted. But this book was still really good and enjoyable. It is about Catherine and Dix. Catherine is a journalist who got herself into some trouble, and she is on the run. And here comes Dix, who her father has promised Dix that she can marry him. So Dix has made her his bride, and then Dix and Catherine go on this long journey to deliver 35 mail order brides. And it was just very interesting reading about this long journey that all of these women are going on to become wives. And it's like, as they're preparing to be these wives for their husbands, Catherine is learning how to be a wife and learning that even though her and Dix were thrown together because of her no good father, there's still a lot that she likes about him, and she starts to realize that she really enjoys being his wife. I give this book 4 stars. The second book was a romance book that I have been wanting to read for a while, and that book is The Neighbor Favor by Kristina Forrest. This book had me from the beginning. It opens up with the main character, Lily. She decides to send an email to the author of the book that really inspired her to go into book editing. And this author is N.R. Strickland, and she emails him to talk about how much his book has really meant to her and inspired her. And the two of them, over the course of a few months, start to go back and forth with these emails, honey, and it was just so cute, y'all. They were in 2 separate parts of the world, but they were connecting through their love for books and telling about their lives, and it was giving me everything that I needed. Where the book took a turn that Kimberly was not ready for is that Strick, right when they decided to do a video call ghost my girl. I mean, technically he didn't ghost. He did give her a message letting her know that they couldn't continue to have the friendship. But the crazy thing is, Lily ends up moving in with her sister, and her sister's neighbor is Strict. Strick has moved to America. He is able to put two and two together and figure out after a couple encounters who Lily is, and that Lily is who he was emailing, but he's going by his real name, not his author name. So he is able to have this friendship with Lily. And y'all, this book had all the elements to be super cute, and a lot of people love this book, but this book lost me with Strick, Nick, whatever his name is, telling this big old fat lie, or living this big fat lie of not telling Lily who he really is, that he is the author she was emailing. And so I couldn't get into it. I'm like, as they're doing cutesy stuff and falling for each other, I'm like, you know who she is, but she doesn't know who you are. And I just did not think that was fair. I'm giving this book 4 stars because of that big old lie. I don't know. Maybe if he had told the truth a lot earlier in this book, I would have been able to root for them as a couple and gotten all of those romantic feels back that I had in the beginning of the book when they were sending emails back and forth. Hey y'all, my video was way too long, so this is going to be part 1, and I'm going to come right back with part 2 that's going to have the rest of my November reads as well as my December reading wrap up. Thanks again for tuning in to a Books with Kimberly video.